the government finally realized if we're going to keep bringing in 500,000 to 1 million immigrants a year, we got to build a hell of a lot of houses. We also have to cut interest rates soon because the system's about to break if we don't.
Okay. It's been actually a good amount of time.
It's been a minute, man.
Yeah, it's been a fucking long time, actually. What's your take? What's going on? What's going on with the market?
We're talking real estate right now?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple things. I've seen a couple things that you've posted about the market's picking up. There's actually quite a bit less delinquencies as people think. But what's interesting is, let's talk about that for a second. What's your take on the delinquencies, but expressed as a percentage increase? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because the delinquency rate is like, say, for example, year over year, you're comparing like 0.14, like I don't know what the numbers are, to be honest with you. Like say for example 0.14, right? And then this year it's like 0.16, but that, or 0.18 or whatever the number is, but that expressed as a percentage is actually a big increase.
Yeah.
So
so people will say, "Oh, it's a 20% increase in delinquencies," but it's. I mean, I just look at it and laugh. It's like so minuscule that it's not systemic enough to like impact the market at a broad scale.
Yeah.
That could change, obviously, but so delinquencies are ultra low. The market's hot right now, but it's just seasonality. I don't think there's anything really to make of it. You got people that are entering the market. They need to buy, want to buy. There's people trading up and whatnot as well. So not much to it there. I think it's going to slow down in the fall, heading into the winter again, just like it did the past couple of years. I don't think we're going to get rate cuts this year. I'm starting to think that those are going to be off the table.
Why?
Well, inflation's like the last leg of inflation is sticky, right? It's the hardest to get rid of, right? So you can go from 7% to 3%, like relatively easy, right? With the continuous rate hikes, but you can't go from 2.8% to 2%. That might take a year to 2 years. I don't know, right? Because they're not going to raise rates anymore. That's probably off the table. So without rate cuts, I don't think we're going to have some sort of like massive acceleration in the market.
Yeah.
I also don't think they should cut rates.
Yeah, neither do I.
It would be a disaster.
Yeah, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Now, what I actually think they're doing, because I don't know how much you paid attention to this, like MLI Select and like all these incentives for developers to.
Like I had a couple ongoing deals in that type of incentivized development strategy type situation from what is it from CMHC?
Yeah, right? CMHC, yeah. MLI Select. It's insured lending for development.
Yeah, so I had a couple. I actually had a couple like locked up deals, but I actually ended up walking away.
Locked up deals, like you were trying to buy some land to develop, or what was the situation?
Like with developers that were building, and then also on my own that I was going to do it with. That was a different story. I would have still gone through with that. That's a whole other situation. But specifically speaking, the actual development and partnering with a developer on that type of thing, I walked.
Reasons?
Because now I don't know. Now I'm not all that well versed on this. Let me say that first. But there was a situation where with this particular deal, it was, number one, hinging on my investment. Number two, it was hinging on still approval on the site. And for my investment, it was required, like my investment was required to get the approval for whatever reason. They had to get like, again, I don't remember exactly, but this was actually right around the time that I was buying BioSteel. So my focus wasn't exactly, I actually handed off the deal to John and said like, listen, see if you can make this work and and justify it. I got to focus on BioSteel. So I'm getting a lot of this like third party, or whatever from John. Right. So, it was hinging on that, my investment, it was hinging on the fact that by the time the property is actually built, this type of CMHC style of funding or whatever might actually not even be in place when you actually have to go get it. So there was like a couple weird nuances.
What was it? Was it a residential deal? Like, well,
Yeah.
Like straight up, how many units? Like, is there any details on
48.
it? 48.
Yeah.
Vacant piece of land from the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. How did the numbers look when you were
The numbers were
them?
like the actual return looked great. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the return looked great, but it was obviously because you're putting so little down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You're putting so little down. You're and that was another thing that I didn't care for, because if you worked off of a typical LTV that you would get in the market, the deal was a fucking shit show. Like an absolute disaster of a deal.
Let's touch on this.
Yeah.
Like that's the purpose of MLI Select right now.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for MLI Select, nobody would be building any of this stuff. So I'm looking at it.
And I don't love that. I don't like that concept.
See, I do though. I do.
I don't love it.
I love when the government is incentivizing the private sector to do stuff.
So this I'm going to tell you why I don't like it. I don't mind. Like, here's the thing. I don't mind the notion of that. The problem is like my price per door was egregious, and it's egregious because the cost of building is egregious right now.
What's the price per door?
I don't remember. I just remember that if you knocked it down to a typical LTV, like even a 75-25, which is the norm, right? The deal was an absolute disaster of it. Like there's no way that I would ever do a deal like that. So when you actually normalize the numbers, it made no sense. So the problem that I had with that is you couldn't port the mortgage to somebody, or that person still had to qualify if you needed to port that type of mortgage. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I ever got into a pinch, or if I ever got into a scenario where I've got these 48 units, I need to move them, and the majority, because like here's the thing, the majority of the market doesn't actually approve.
Yeah, but you could convert them to condos. Right, if you built them at condo spec, that's how developers are getting around this.
I don't know. This is what I mean. Like, okay, fair, fine, but at the end of the
I
day,
guess in some, like MLI Select is freaking good.
Yeah,
like it's insane. Like I've been doing some research on it and talking to some people, and it's 95/5 financing.
Yeah,
like I'll take that every time.
Yeah, I don't like
lower interest rates.
Yeah,
I just don't want to paint like a broad brush of like it's because these LTVs are so high that it's a bad deal. Because I look at it the opposite. I'm like, that's exactly.
I don't like. I didn't like it because of the exit strategies. I like being creative with exit strategies. I'll give you an example. North Miami Beach. We're actually looking at an exit right now, right? Because like we could really cash out on that property. We bought in at 140 a unit, right? Right now they're worth around 200 a unit. So in order to maximize IRR, the earlier you can exit out of that deal, the better it works, right, for IRR.
Yeah,
for
there's
maximizing
a sweet spot
IRR,
to
right?
cash out. Yeah,
usually it's about like the 2-year mark. Mm-hmm. So we figure if we can start exiting, if I get out of the loan now, right, bridge the loan for like say 24 or 30 months, because you don't want to exit the loan, get into a bridge, and then there's like a gluttony of condos in that building that are on the market, right? It's going to drive down the costs naturally. So I'd want to extend out the sale process. So if we extend the sale process out, 2 years and sell them over the course of 2 years, if we get into a bridge where it's interest only, the debt service on it is actually the same debt service as the principal and interest loan that I'm in right now.
So you'd be selling them individually, not as a package.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I like about that deal. From even before I did the deal or closed on it, there was an extra,
which we did discuss,
extra exit strategy, which is what we're going to maximize on. And think about this: if I had to sell that property as a package deal, we're not making any money right now because of the rates. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of the rates and because the NOI got squeezed because
of a hurricane.
Of the hurricane.
Yeah, so
because of Hurricane
so
Ian.
just like let's move on to the next topic because I have some points to touch on. But with that, the built-in strategy there would just build them the condo spec, convert the building to a condo. Once the financing's done in 12 to 24 months, once it's stabilized, sell them off individually when the market's hotter. That's what people are doing right now, because the incentives there are to build rental units. And here's why. The government finally realized if we're going to keep bringing in 500,000 to 1 million immigrants a year, we got to build a hell of a lot of houses. We also have to cut interest rates soon because the system's about to break if we don't. So
is it going to break? Like, are interest rates really that high? Like, they should arguably be this rate
because they screwed up the system so bad when all these mortgages come up for renewal. The renewal cliff, right? And then when you're siphoning money out of the economy because it's going to my interest payments, it's not good for the economy. That's why our GDP is so low right now as well. So they realized if we're going to house all these people, it's not going to be in single family homes because everybody's going to be priced out.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we cut rates, housing prices go up significantly. So we better build as many rentals as we can over the next 10 years. And this is a 10-year plan. I think it's until at least 2030. This MLI Select program is projected to be until 2030. And then some people are saying, well, we need way more time until 2030. Like, this is going to be 2035, 2040 before we build enough rentals. So the federal government, liberals, this is their plan. Build as many rentals as possible. We don't care if developers make a shitload of money, right? We have no choice. Private sector is not going to do it. The government sector, public sector is not going to do it. So it's the perfect opportunity to partner with the government. Now, there's a lot of like red tape and loopholes you got to jump through and all this crap, right? Like, and maybe they needed you on the deal because of your financial position, because you have to have a certain amount of liquidity. They want to see, at least 25% liquidity for the cost of the deal, all this crap.
Yeah.
So maybe the developer couldn't do it. But so that's like the nefarious plan. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, shoot, we got like 5 to 10 years here to build as many rentals as possible and take this government money at 95% loan to value and take advantage of the situation. It's lower rates, extended amortizations, and how often, because I remember 3-4 years ago when we were on these podcasts, go back and check them. Dan and I were saying, look, they're bringing in too many people and you cannot build rentals of profit. Like, you can't build them profitably and you can't build enough single family homes for 500 grand. You got to sell them for 800, 900 grand.
Yeah.
They're exacerbating the housing crisis. And then I said, the government is not going to partner with the private sector. They're too stupid. They're too selfish. They don't want developers to get rich. That was true for 3-4 years. Now it's changed. They're actually willing to give developers all these incentives.
Yeah.
And I want to freaking take advantage of it.
Yeah. I don't know enough about it. That deal, I didn't look, first of all, I didn't look into it enough.
Yeah.
And I was too busy with this.
Yeah, rightfully so.
I was way too busy with this. It was way too, it was way too crazy at that point in time.
Yeah.
And, I didn't like the exit strategy style of what they were telling me. And, who knows, maybe I wasn't speaking to the right lender or mortgage broker or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people are new to this. There's a lot of information you got, whatever, right? So, anyways, that's my thoughts for the market. They hold rates high, keep the market like stable, just kind of slowly ticking along, all the while pumping as many rental projects as possible. That's why they're upzoning everything.
Windsor just shot it down, eh?
Windsor shot it down. Doug Ford came out today and said like they're not gonna blanket upzone Ontario.
Okay.
They were pushing for him to do that. He said no because basically people are going to be pissed if he does.
Okay.
But they're going to each individual municipality and incentivize it, including Tecumseh, right? Tecumseh's like single-family haven. Yeah. It's all single-family homes. But Tecumseh's on board for upzoning to 4 units.
Really? What about LaSalle? I'm curious about LaSalle.
LaSalle's not there yet. I don't know where they're at. I haven't heard anything about LaSalle. They're probably going to be one of the last ones to do it if ever.
I can see LaSalle not wanting that.
100%.
Yeah, I'm surprised Tecumseh.
Same. Yeah.